Kenyan politics is getting stranger and stranger by the day. For instance, did you know that there are some insiders, I mean very, very deep insiders, in the William Samoei Ruto regime who have fallen out with their boss? Oh yes. Some of them, they are no longer on talking terms. Some of them are on the warpath against their boss. You heard me right? Hey. Kenyan politics right now is confusing very many analysts. Because you see, if you don't keep your ear to the ground, if you don't dig deep behind the scenes to know what is really going on, small details that may not mean anything if you don't pay attention, it all becomes very confusing. A very warm welcome to my show today, where I reveal the names of those who have fallen out. Some of them you already know, some of them you don't, I'm sure. Okay? Karibuni sana. Twende kazi. You know, one of the reasons why it is important to be a student of politics and a student of history, if you're in siasa, is because you're going to avoid very many blunders. And not only that, you're going to be able to take some bad things that are going to happen to you in a more comfortable way, because you'll already know this is what usually happens. This is inevitable in politics. Let me give you a very good example. Some people call this the tissue paper syndrome. Yani le syndrome ya karatasi ya choo. Now, in politics anywhere in the world, you may play a very key role in a campaign. You may play a very key role in a government. But once your job is done, once you've finished what you are supposed to do and what you did very well, and there is no more need for you. Or let's take another scenario. If somebody else comes along, in the rough and tumble of what's going on of daily politics, if somebody else comes along and can do what you're doing better, much better, my friend, wewe ni historia. You just become tissue paper. Once used, it's thrown aside or thrown at that place, alafu flushed. That is just the reality of politics. It's not personal. And indeed it applies in a few other areas in life. For instance, a soccer team, okay? At least in the old days, we used to have specialists in doing some certain things. For instance, a defender who will injure a striker. Okay? So you're playing against this opponent. They have a very good striker. So this defender comes on and he has only one job. And of course he's sent off. But the objective of the team has been achieved. Now of course that's not being a sportsman, but that's the way it used to go. And need I remind you that in politics, there are no rules. There is no referee. There is only one rule. Thou shalt not get caught by somebody or people who can do something about it. Okay? That last bit I've added recently. Because it applies especially in Kenyan politics. Many people in Kenya have been caught. But nothing has happened to them yet. Because the people who have caught them can do nothing about it at the moment, currently. Tomorrow, iyo wachana nae. But today, there is nothing they can do about it. Right. Let's dive into some names of inner circle people who have fallen out. And I will start with a name I am sure you do not have. But very quickly before that, please allow me to honor our sponsors for today's show. They usually support this channel in a very big way, and I'm very grateful. Lemify. Now I'm sure you're aware of all the huge advantages you'd have using Lemify. You can send money to Kenya at the best rates and with zero fees. You can send without funding the wallet. You can send from a pay bill or a till. You can also receive money from Kenya, this time not sending money to Kenya. You can also receive money from Kenya at zero fees. And of course, Lemify has very competitive rates. And of course, you can still use my code, Kumekucha, which you see on your screens right now, and you'll be able to get an instant cashback. Yeah? If you're sending your first £50 in the UK, you'll be able to get a cashback of £10. If you're using euros and you send at least 50 euros, you'll be able to get a cashback of 15 euros. And if you're in the US, for sending your first $100, you'll get a cashback of $20. I highly recommend that you try Lemify today, because they're big supporters of this channel, and that'll be another way of supporting what we do here on this channel. Right! Now, before I give you the name of this politician, there is some other piece of information I'd like to give you. Okay? And it is the fact that the tribe called Kalenjin does not exist. Okay? This grouping, or this tribe, was invented by former President Daniel Toroitich arap Moi. Yeah, he grouped together communities which were very similar. The Nandi, the Kipsigis, the Turgen, etc., etc., and called all of them Kalenjin, yeah, for purely political reasons. Of course, Moi had been around even that time for a long time, and he was just copying the colonial government, who previously had grouped together some communities which were very different, and invented a brand new tribe in Kenya called the Luhya. And I will tell you for free, yeah, because part of me comes from that area of Kenya, the Maragoli are much more similar to the House of Mumbi, the Agikuyu, than they are to their fellow Luhya tribe called the Bukusu. The Maragoli and the Bukusu are very different, but both of them have been grouped together as the Luhya tribe. Okay? And anyway, let's stay on point. Now, just because you've put people in one group does not mean the tensions and the politics between members of that group will end. That is not human nature. Of course, it will continue. And in many cases, it will escalate. Now, the huge advantage that Moi had is that he did not belong to any of the two largest communities in this grouping, namely the Kipsigis and the Nandi. Naturally, the current leader of the nation called Kenya does not enjoy the same advantage. I'm sure you're following me. And don't forget that these communities are famous for something, yeah, apart from long distance running. And they brought a lot of glory to motherland Kenya. And we, their fellow Kenyans, are so proud of them and will forever be proud of them. Yeah, they've really put Kenya on the map. Asanteni sana, mandugu na madada wangu. This other thing they're famous for, hasira inakwanga karibu. Yeah, they're very hyper. Okay? Now, throwing into that mix the current environment we have in the country, yeah, where all Kenyans are suffering under this regime. Very high cost of living, punitive taxation that has not stopped. It is relentless. It continues. Every other day you read in the news, yeah, yet another tax is going to be introduced. The government is thinking of taxing this and taxing that. And every other day you go to the shops and you find that item that you bought yesterday for X number of shillings is now costing X number of shillings, plus 10 shillings or plus 5 shillings. Those of us who live in Kenya know what I'm talking about, and we have learned how to live with this. So when you throw in that, you can imagine, even before I give you the information I'm about to give you, that already there are triggers all over the place to cause problems. Okay? Now, if today you went and started talking to people in Eldoret, it would not take you very long to hear the following phrase: Finland scholarships. You remember? It was a huge scandal. Many parents sacrificed, sold land, sold livestock, sold vehicles, sold what, in order to get their children into this scholarship program, where they'd be able to go outside the country, and especially Finland, for further studies, so as to greatly improve their prospects in this very competitive, fast-changing world we live in. We all remember that. There is still a lot of bitterness over that issue. Hiyo maneno haijaisha, especially because those who lost money are yet to get their money back. And of course, it is highly unlikely that they'll ever get their money back. Bottom line, a UDA ticket is no longer a guarantee in the Rift Valley for automatic election to any position. So which ticket is automatic? Actually, something very beautiful is happening in the Rift Valley. We are rapidly heading towards that situation where the voters will carefully look at the candidates and decide the best person to elect. That shift in politics has far-reaching consequences, most of which are fatal to the current regime. Let me simplify that. You're already an elected leader, and of course you're not a dunderhead. You're thinking about your re-election prospects, and you're looking around, and you're talking to your constituents, the voters, regularly, and you're hearing what they're saying. Now, wouldn't it make sense for you kuingia box ya voters as soon as possible? And of course, if you side with the voters, it will immediately mean that you're in direct conflict with the powers that be, the current regime. Truth be told, there are many politicians in this region who are currently just quiet, but they know what they have to do, and they're just waiting for the right time to make their move. What is happening with a politician called Samson Cherargei? Why is he not talking these days? Why is he so quiet? What is really happening? What is he thinking? Allow me to leave it there. Okay? But with all the background information I've given you, I'm sure you fully understand the dynamics at play in the background. Now let's come to what you already know. There was a very curious function in Kiambu at the home of Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah, who was laying to rest his dad. And President Ruto, and indeed Mama Ruto, attended the function. But it was a very interesting function. The sitting arrangement was very interesting. The protocol was even more interesting. You see, usually at a function like this, the home governor, the host governor, always plays a very prominent role. Welcomes the president, makes a speech, tells the president 1, 2, 3 about the county, etc., etc. At that function, the home governor, Wamatangi, did not give any speech. He sat down with the rest of the visitors, and indeed he was introduced by a governor from a very, very far away county, Embu, Cecil Mbarire. Can you imagine that? You know one thing about this president, anaoneshanga ma feelings. He can't help it. Yeah, and at the moment, him and Wamatangi, there is a huge problem. For any Mjuaji who was doubting that there's a problem, this function was a confirmation beyond any doubt kwamba iko shida. Now there's another group of politicians who have also been pushed aside, who nobody talks about. Okay? These politicians have done nothing wrong. They're still towing the line. They're still choir boys and choir girls. But circumstances are such that their services are no longer required. Because the brand new choir boys on the block are members of ODM. That's how Kambas pronounce it. ODM. Yeah? And Raila Odinga and his close allies. And those ones, of course, can do a much better job because they came into this already with a following, with a political reputation, yeah, with many years experience in politics. And some of these choir boys are rookies. They just came into politics the other day. So what do you expect? And so the toilet paper syndrome, pop, kicks in here also. Hey, I pity them. I pity politicians. Bottom line, politicians within the ruling UDA must prepare themselves very well and get ready for what has always been happening again and again and again in history, where you stop being useful, and especially in a situation where a regime is struggling, you will definitely be shoved aside so fast you will get dizzy. Now we understand why the current political situation in the country is strange, and anybody who's covering political news, why they're struggling, yeah, to get anything substantial to analyze or even to report about, apart from the usual political functions. Yeah, not all of them as exciting as the one which was in Kiambu, yeah, the home of Kimani Ichung'wah. Not all of them are like that. That one had drama. The others are boring. Usual, normal, usual. But there's another reason. Okay? The other reason is that there's something cooking. And this thing which is cooking is not a small thing. I believe this is the main reason why things in the country are the way they are. And I'm afraid this is not the kind of information I can share here on the open channel. I'm very sorry. But then, of course, holders of the very valuable golden key will be able to get this special report pop in the inbox. And I have decided to extend that offer. You can see details on your screens right now. For only Kenya shillings 6,333, you'll be able not only to get this very latest, hot off the presses, highly sensitive special report with very shocking revelations, trust me, but you'll also get all other previous highly sensitive special reports from the past, and in future you'll also be able to get everything else coming out of Kumekucha, including our very latest weekly intelligence briefings number 127, which are released this week. I'm sure most members of the WAB have already been able to take it in. As a holder of the golden key, which is permanent, it's not even annual, you'll be able to have all this information pop and not need to worry, never need to worry about paying for anything. Please use the details you see on your screens right now, use our usual number, to take full advantage of this offer before it is pulled out, which can happen at any time. Yeah? So please move with speed. But if you want only this latest highly sensitive special report, the details are on your screens right now. For only Kenya shillings 3,999, you'll be able to get it. And I'm also throwing in the very latest weekly intelligence briefings released just this week. Okay? Please move with speed if you are in a position to. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.